We're back. How's it going, everybody? Happy this week.
Hello.
How are y'all doing today?
Excellent. You?
Excellent, excellent. What do we got today? Oh, it's June the 7th. Wow, that'll sneak up on you.
I
Crazy.
assume Rod is not that great since he's going by the name of Flonase today.
Well, I was going to mention, unfortunately, everybody knows about these Canadian wildfires. I'm sure Brody does, right? I went out for a run today thinking, it looks like it's going to rain today. I better get my run in. But it's just the haze, and you can actually smell the fires in Ohio. We're like, how many hundreds of miles south from that? And it's just incredible. So, yeah. Flonase. I'm breathing all that smoke in. They say that, the more difficult things, the stronger you get, but I don't believe that for a second. So.
Copy that. Well, on behalf of all of Canada's trees, sorry for the smoke.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So Edward is here.
He's on mute. I don't know if he's.
Oh, there you go. His mic is now connected, it says.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I was getting my Yeti finally hooked up to the new computer, and it will override this thing, so you can't switch in between. So the Yeti will just take over. So I'll use the Yeti for the next one. I just wanted to, be fancy like Rod, have the nice microphone and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I got a little spit filter.
Yeti, is that from that messing with Sasquatch commercial? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's isn't that a Yeti you're using?
Yeah, it is. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're giving me. I'm like, because I got the thing. Frank told me to get it. Yeah, it is what it is.
Edward, you're like Mr. Wilson. I can't see you over your own name bar today. It's hiding your facial expression.
Why is it doing that? Because I'm short.
It's too long. It's because you made it too long.
You got to shorten it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
maybe sit on some books.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure all of our viewers are sitting there wondering who this fifth person is. Does someone want to introduce?
Yeah, absolutely. This is super awesome. I'm really happy to have this individual with us. We'll let them introduce themselves here in a second. But internally, a lot of our customers have joined what we used to call the private preview program. Now it's called the customer connection customer connection program. And it's still the same type of program. It's just renamed. We at Microsoft, we rebrand things every 5 minutes. So this is the new name, CCP. But as part of that, there's some contests, for the participation in that. And then they are rewarded. They get to choose what their award is. So this Black Belt Award, this individual who we have here with us as a co-host tonight, is on because they won the Black Belt Award and they chose as their award to be on our show. So that's super cool.
For some bizarre reason, they decided to choose us as a reward.
Thank you so much for choosing us. Do you want to introduce yourself, Vikas?
Yeah. Hey guys, this is Vikas. I'm cybersecurity lead at Inspira Enterprise as of now, and I've been working on Microsoft for last about 7 years, right? So whole Microsoft suite. I was architect, like a cloud architect before then coming into cybersecurity, right? And really excited to be on this particular podcast, right? So it's been quite a interesting journey, right? So yeah.
Awesome. Welcome.
So welcome. So welcome and congratulations, by the way. So that's super awesome. You are one of only two people I know of that, for whatever reason, have chosen our show. We have another one, I think, the end of July, who will come on and co-host. So you get to set the bar, right? Set the bar.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Oh man.
Awesome. So folks, anyone provide any cool updates, information that they want to hear about before we get into our guests today?
Oh yeah.
Fun. What do you got, Edward?
Shot a cool 85 today.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
You went golfing?
Yeah. Yeah. I had to do it.
I can't respect you anymore.
Why not?
So I learned early on. I actually took golf in college. I was actually really good at it. But at one day, I realized that I only want to play sports where they throw the ball back to you. Because you know what? You're just literally chasing this ball for, 2-3 hours.
I got to cheat a little bit and use a cart the whole time, so the rest of the guys walked, but I got a bum knee. So
Oh,
what was the PGA guy that they got an interception and ride in the cart? Yeah.
yeah, that's you.
John
Yeah,
Daly.
Yeah.
John Daly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I like to, and the course is right here, and it's they're like, hey man, just quick, real quick. I'm like, all right. I'm like, sure, I
You
do
and
it.
me too, Noodle.
What's that? What do you need to put in
only,
here?
only play sports on the Wii. I just got back from a golf trip. That was super fun. I did not shoot in the 80s, but it was good times. Yeah.
It was a par four course. Nothing
Oh,
special. Yeah,
yeah.
Why do
like
they call it shooting? By the way, I don't understand that. You get so frustrated, you just shoot the ball.
Yeah, sometimes that works, or sometimes your frustration means you just take a giant hole out of the ground, you know?
Caddyshack is one of my favorite movies. So
it is one. It stands up to this day. Caddyshack stands up to this day. Yeah, Bill Murray's the man. Nothing super interesting on my part. If we're staying with me, some licensing stuff. Working on some cool AMA stuff. Can't really talk live about it, but I'm definitely going to share with the rest of the team. I think it's actually pretty cool. And that's it. Coming up with architectures. I saw someone doing the weirdest thing with logging, where I don't think they listened to the show. They're so afraid of losing a log that they write all of the logging and alerts to disk. And then they use Splunk to pull it from disk and run alerts against it.
That seems kind of hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be uncharitable with customer designs. You don't know the history. You don't know why they're doing it, but they say their primary reason is they're afraid of losing a single log. So it goes back into the consulting mode of what are you doing with the logs? When's the last time you ran a detection against a log? When's the last time you lost a log? Why are you trying to fix it by writing logs to disk and not going back to fix whatever is causing the log's disruption? So when you make them answer those questions, eventually someone said, just because of the way we do it. Literally got told that. I'm like, okay.
That's
Sure.
the answer to most things, though. So.
And so I gave them a design. They won't lose any logs, but you need to get it fast. What's the triangle? Fast, cheap, or whatever, timely. So we gave them a nice expensive one. And like, no, those logs aren't that important. I didn't think so. There we go. What else? I think that's it. That's it.
Okay.
I do have something I'd like to announce, but I'm not because Andrew didn't give me permission to, so I won't say anything.
Okay. Copy that. Copy that.
And what else?
Put it in the private chat, and I'll announce it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Everybody's tempting
It's
fate
true.
today.
I'm having a baby. No, just kidding.
That wasn't what I was going to say. I'm like, what?
That'd be a miracle, my friends.
You didn't tell
Anyway,
me that.
Let's move along.
Yeah, let's move along.
Who else?
You started this. What did you do this week?
I got back from a golf trip, and I'm basically just trying to keep my head above water, getting all my email answered. But I'm rolling off of finishing. We're trying to finish up a project at a financial institution around data security. So finishing that up. Still working on some cool zero trust stuff for the Fed, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Had a team meeting with my new manager today. He seems very nice. Yeah, things are good. Really? Yeah, things are good.
Cool. That's always kind of an iffy situation. Reorgs, new managers. It takes probably 2 or 3 months to figure out if you really like them or not. Hopefully,
you got to train them up.
Yeah.
Listen here, Buster.
Well, I just dropped them a podcast host, and everyone's like, "Oh, Brody's going above and beyond," and all this jazz. I'm sure Yuri, our guest, knows all about that. Getting those extra items on his Connect.
Andrea?
Oh, I was telling him earlier, I've been spending the last 2 days on a Defender for Endpoint POC.
You told me that.
We had 10 machines with MDE installed on them, and they ran a series of attacks. So we're supposed to tell the attack story, show what we blocked, show what we didn't. So it's been a busy 2 days. And as I said, it's been a long day today. So
fun.
And Roderick?
Oh, I have nothing. I don't do anything. Here.
Well, you did something. You got a haircut. You took a shower. You have a decent shirt on for a change.
Oh man, I can't even give you the story about that right now. So
Okay, all
I'll
right.
tell you in a couple weeks.
What about our guest host,
He, he's coming on. He's going to get his Vikas. What's up?
Vikas? What do you got? What's new with you this week? What are you working on?
Oh, I've been working on a project with a bank in Philippines, right? So it's a migration kind of a thing, and it's been a hectic week, right? So, yeah.
Those banks, huh? They always got
Oh,
something up their sleeves.
And what time
always,
did you say it
always.
is where you are?
Oh, it's 1:30 in the night. Actually, about to be two, right? So
Man,
it's
this
in
was
India,
supposed to
right?
be an award, not something you had to work really hard at. So hopefully you
No,
have
no, no,
some
it's okay.
caffeine or something. So
Your
yeah.
house is
Yep,
in very
yep.
good order for 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it looks great.
Great
Looks great.
piano, the couch looks
Really light outside for 1:30 in the morning,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you for coming on the show and choosing us, because I hope that your circle of peers will strive to become a, what is that, black belt, and choose our show to come on. Oh, and we really appreciate you. 1:30 in the morning, they'll tell you I'm asleep. Been asleep for hours. I was like an old man. I'm done. All right. All right. All right. But we got guests,
We
you know.
do.
Oh yeah.
Let's invite Yuri to the screen.
Yes.
Yuri, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Yuri.
Hey, thank you, Rod, Brody, Andrea. Lose that cruise control. Funny guy.
Yuri,
Thank you all for having me.
yeah, no problem. No problem at all. It's finally cool to sort of meet the man, myth, and the legend. Always on one of your webinars, looking at one of your books and one of your calls, but this is probably the most personal because you're generally talking to an audience this big most of the time, right?
Well, and,
Yeah.
and maybe here's something, Yuri, that you can take with you to brag about to your team or whoever you want to brag about. I'm sure, not that you don't have enough to brag about already, but so we had, was it March? It was March when we had Women in Cybersecurity Month, right? So we had Ann Johnson, we had Vasu, we had Maria Thompson, we had Laura, right? Lara,
Yeah.
sorry.
Lara.
Lara.
Always pronounce her name wrong. Had them on, and our audience was, we had a huge audience. Just looking at the numbers today, just for the people who registered for this, just on LinkedIn, you've already set records. So
Oh,
appreciate
wow.
you coming on. Everybody
Thank you,
wants
Yuri.
to hear from Yuri. So you might as well go ahead and introduce yourself. And like I said, be as humble as you want. But go ahead and give us a good intro.
All right. Well, I've been at Microsoft for 17 years now. It'll be 18 in January. And in security since 2007 at Microsoft, because I joined in 2006, and then in 2007 I joined the CSS security team to support ISO Server back in the day. ISO Server 2000, ISO Server 2006, and then later became TMG. And then I moved to other team to work with Windows security. And time goes on, comes 2015, I was invited to participate in a project codenamed ROM. And there was this thing about, we need to start having cloud visibility across Azure, and we're going to create this dashboard, and we want you to be our the writer writing artwork for this platform. So I joined this team with Ton Schinder, actually, and in 2015 the name was revealed. It was Azure Security Center. So we released Azure Security Center in public preview during Thanksgiving 2015. I still remember that because I was finishing up all the documentation to ship. It was Thanksgiving weekend. And then in 2016, we released Azure Security Center in GA. And then Azure Security Center later on became Defender for Cloud, because we wanted to have the message that we are not only Azure, we are multi-cloud. So we changed the name for Defender for Cloud. So that's my career basically at Microsoft. But besides Microsoft, I also work at East Coast University. I am a professor at the bachelor's degree in cybersecurity there for the past 8 years. And I write books for Microsoft Press and for Microsoft Press / Pearson and Pact as well. So I have, as of now, 31 books published.
Wow, 31.
Well,
31.
we were trying to have this discussion one day, and we think it's like a competition between Oren and yourself. Who
Yeah, Warren
actually-
is ahead, 10 books ahead of me, well, a little over 10.
Only 10.
that's just well. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. You know, the things that you do. To me, you know, I've known you for a long time, but just to see who you are and what you do, you're a very driven person. You're probably the busiest person I know. You know, even personally with your family. You know, the martial arts stuff that you do, which we can talk about. How do you fit these number of books into your life, writing all these books? Have you been using Chat GPT for the past 10 years? Didn't tell anyone?
No,
You can tell us. We
no,
won't
no,
tell
it's actually, I think that the turning point of change came in 2011 when I left CSS Security, because when I left CSS Security, I was really burnt out. It was really tough because at that point I was acting escalation engineer, and I was working at second shift. So I used to go to the Las Colinas office here in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, and starting the shift 1 p.m. and leaving Microsoft at midnight for almost every day.
Wow.
And of course, when I left, there was no place to open to eat, so I was eating junk food all the time. I gained a lot of weight, got obese, and then when I moved to the Windows security team to write about threats and countermeasures for Windows, I started working from home in 2011. So that's when my life changed completely, because I started to really control my schedule, have a better quality of life as far as eating and exercise. And so I lost 100 pounds in the first year working from home. 100 pounds.
Wow.
And I started to optimize my time management, right? So I usually wake up at 5, get a lot of things done, including training and meetings, because I manage a team of PMs, global PMs. So I have a lot of meetings early in the morning, because I have 1 p.m. in India, I have 2 p.m.s in Ireland. So my meetings are usually early in the morning. So I like to start the day. So I wake up 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm already at the gym, and then 6:30 I start having meetings. So I optimize. I really try to optimize my day, and that's what really allows me to do that. And recently,
would just-
one year ago, I actually started the PhD in cybersecurity. So I'm doing the
Oh,
PhD
wow.
as well.
So I had like 5 minutes of my day left. I figured I could fit something in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, well, why not to do this PhD? You know, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally stopped following Yuri on Twitter because he made me feel bad about myself. Like,
Well,
no,
Yuri's
wow.
This is doing too much.
Million pounds of
Oh,
leg
sorry
press.
about that.
Oh, Yuri's writing a book.
It's supposed to-
I was like,
Yeah, it's supposed to
I'm
lift you
watching
up, give
Netflix.
you something to attain or shoot for.
Don't tell
I
me what it's
think
supposed to do.
I've seen some pictures of Yuri either deadlifting or doing leg presses. I think I remember this. It was so comical. You posted this picture of this guy in the gym with you, this little skinny kid watching you do it, and his mouth was just open, going, "Oh my goodness, how was he able to do that?"
Well, but
No,
that's the thing about work-life balance, right? I mean, is very important, and this is something that I advocate a lot to my directs. Say, hey, take time to balance. I remember I have one direct that he is on the East Coast, and he came to me and said, I'm really tired. I'm burning out. So, what you doing on your free time? What is your hobby? What do you do? I said, oh, I like to play games. So his hobby was be on the computer. I was like, you have to unplug. You have to go outside. You have to do something different. Otherwise, you're gonna burn out. There's no other way. Like Brody said that he went to a play this weekend, right? So that's, you do something completely different.
Yeah. Well, and the things that you do, to me, and Andrea makes me feel bad about it, they're very motivational for me, just seeing the same thing. But and it's not just the number of things you do. I look at it and I look at the things that you do, and every single one of those things is kind of difficult. It's like you really challenge yourself, right?
Yeah, I do judo, I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and I do not just for hobby. I compete. In the past 2 years, I pushed myself so hard that I had 2 surgeries because I broke a foot and I ruptured my triceps. So like, well, that's part of the game. But I think it's things that push. And one of the things about martial arts, and in particular jiu-jitsu, is that you must feel comfortable in uncomfortable positions, because if you don't feel comfortable, you're going to tap, you're going to quit. So this is something that I also tell a lot to my directors, like, well, I'm feeling pressure to deliver this presentation. Say, well, look, you need to feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations. That's how you're gonna shine, is when you have that feeling that you cannot do it, but you push yourself to do it, and then you do it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mhm.
Words to live by.
That has to be hard with that particular martial art discipline, and you rupture the tricep. You're in the game of using focus, using levers, and using leverage.
Yeah.
And you're right. Jujitsu, I can imagine. How long did it take you
And
to
I
come back from? Yeah.
and I remember when I ruptured my tricep, it was on the judo tournament, and I throw the guy, and I immediately felt a sharp pain on my triceps. And I knew that sharp pain because other people told me when they ruptured, this is what they felt. So I left the match. I won that match. And I left, and I told my coach, I said, I think I ruptured my tricep. And he looked at me and said, can you go another one? Because there is still one match.
I like
So
this
So I'm
you're-
like,
coach.
sure.
So
Why
Yuri
not?
rips his arm off, and he just goes with one arm, and yeah.
The
So
one
like,
punch
okay,
man.
put some ice and went back to the mat. Yeah.
So when you're not beating up people, what are you beating up in cybersecurity?
Uh, well, the PhD has been very interesting because my dissertation is around why the attacks grew exponentially during COVID. We have a bunch of hypotheses to validate and everything, but it's been very interesting to go deep and understand why the number of attacks increased during COVID. And one of the things that we found out, and this we have research on this on Microsoft, is that a lot of threat actors, they stay dormant throughout the entire year, and they monitor what is happening across the globe when it comes to things. So when coronavirus was coming up in February, March, we start seeing a lot of phishing emails exploiting this theme, coronavirus, and a lot of ransomware in later on in April took place because people were just curious about that subject, and they were willing to click to see what was going on. So there was a huge number of attacks, phishing attacks, and later on ransomware, just because of people's curiosity to see what is this virus, right? What do I need to do?
Mm.
So that's something that happens a lot.
So very opportunistic, I guess. Most of
Yes.
these threat actors. Yeah.
I thought I would have attributed it to that the threat actors were working from home. They were more efficient.
That too.
They had more time since they didn't have to commute to the office.
Well, the work from home definitely open up the spectrum of possibilities because the digital transformation also accelerate during COVID because all the companies were like, we have to enable people to work remotely, and they did that without having security in mind. So they did that
That's true.
just to enable people, but they left a lot of holes throughout this enablement. So threat actors start to exploit those holes as well.
So we could diminish threat attacks just by making people work in the office.
That is the most circular logic I've ever heard in my life.
Rod.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I
if
know.
anyone any ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that whole commute. It was the commute between home and work that really kept us safe.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah, so
saying
so
that.
this is an area very interesting. But when it comes to Defender for Cloud, which is the product that I manage on my team, the main driving factor right now is being really Defender CSPM, Defender Cloud Security Posture Management, which we release in GA. Of course, there are other things that we've been dealing with. Recently at RSA, we released Defender for APIs, which has been really good. The response for that. Last year at Ignite, we released Defender for DevOps. So there's a lot of these new plans coming up, mainly on this CNAPP perspective, where we are doing code to cloud and shift to left security. So there's a really good momentum.
Yeah.
I particularly like the Defender CSPM a lot because it's a platform that feeds with all this information, right? The attack path is just phenomenal.
Yuri, could you, for those out there who are unaware, can you just quickly describe a CNAPP and what CSPM stands for?
Yes.
Thank you, Brody.
So back in the day, when I say back in the day, I say like maybe 2 years ago, there was a lot of emphasis in cloud secure posture management, CSPM, right? Because we noticed that we have research on this, that 90% of the attacks, and that's still a reality, 98% of the attacks could be prevented with basic secure hygiene. And that's
Crazy.
incredible because people, they invest more in threat detection and they don't do secure hygiene. So the mentality today is, hey, if someone gets in, I need to know right away. That's good, but why are you not closing the doors? Why you are leaving the doors open? That's secure hygiene, right? So CSPM fits right into this idea of secure hygiene. And
Yuri,
threat
do you have a good
detection
example of what those kind of things are?
Yes. So according to we have something called the cybersecurity bell curve, and which shows that there are outliers and 2% outliers, and there's 98% of things that can be prevented is basic stuff. Hardening your resources, do not use default configurations. That's huge. People are still using that. Make sure that you have the systems are up to date. Basic stuff. Make sure that you enable MFA. Should be basic stuff as well. Make sure that you have data protection, encryption, data classification. So these are some of the key areas that can help increase the secure hygiene. But so going back to the rationale of how CNAPP came into play. So CSPM was more about secure hygiene, preventative work. Threat detection was more about workload protection, how I detect if things are coming into play. Then Gartner start research around 2021, start research this whole movement of shift left and using these artifacts that are coming from pipelines, from GitHub, for example, Azure AD, all these platforms, and how this could be utilized to improve secure hygiene. Looking also at cloud infrastructure and title management, so all the identity part. How can I combine all those things into one single platform? So cloud native application protection platform, CNAPP, is the aggregation of all these artifact scanning, API scanning, software composition analysis, vulnerability scanning, sensitive data analysis, secret scanning, all those artifacts in combination with secure configuration, infrastructure as a code, network security, CSPM, and also runtime protection, right? Cloud workload protection and external attack surface management. And we have all that together with Defender for Cloud. So I think it was 1 month ago. No, it was March, because we announced this at Microsoft Secure in March. So in March, Gartner already recognized Microsoft Defender for Cloud as a CNAPP solution. Keep in mind that we do not have a Magic Quadrant right now for CNAPP, but there are plans. I think that Gartner will release one. Our advantage is that we are already there as a provider for CNAPP.
Nice. Gets us ahead. I like that. Oh, that's interesting. Yuri, so we know that cloud security posture management recently became generally available. If you're new to that world and you're a customer out there, you're listening today, what what items, what aspects of that capability would you want to highlight and say like everybody should be looking at this tomorrow if you have the opportunity, if you have the licensing to do so?
Yeah. So historically, since Azure Security Center days, we always gave the basic security posture management for free, and we still giving it for free. So all the security recommendation, the secure score, the assessment inventory, or workflow automation, we give this for free as part of what we call the foundational CSPM. That's the free tier that you used to have in Azure Security Center, right? Now, what we have with Defender CSPM is we aggregate many other capabilities in this new plan. And one of the main capabilities is the Cloud Security Explorer, which is we create a new map of resources in our backend where we connect the insights coming from different products and elements and giving a risk-based approach for you to remediate what needs to be remediated. Because the problem with just following a baseline is that is a flat baseline. And one thing that we heard from customers is, look, I have here 100 recommendations and 80 are high severity. Which one should I remediate first? Help me to prioritize based on risk. So this risk-based assessment is what we bring with Defender CSPM, because now we analyze potential scenarios of attack and we create what we call the attack path analysis. So we say, look, if a threat actor is able to compromise this resource, is going to be really bad, because it's not only about compromising this resource, but he can move laterally to this one and then can access this storage account. And guess what? This storage account has confidential information. So we give the entire potential attack path and the damage that can be done because the threat actor may have access to confidential information just because you have this VM that has one vulnerability that you didn't patch. So that's very powerful, because now we are looking at your environment, your unique environment. We are not giving a flat baseline for all customers. We are analyzing your own data, creating those attack paths and telling you, hey, this is the risk if you don't do anything. So that's extremely
that was going to be my follow-up question. Is this unique per customer?
Yeah.
And like, so we're analyzing in real time, well, their scenario. Okay, we understand that if this server gets popped, the blast radius could be X because of the different lineages and linkages that it has to other resources. Yeah, that's
so
powerful stuff.
It's powerful. It's super powerful. And we provide native integration with external attack surface management, Defender ESM, which means that if you don't know Defender ESM is another product that is utilized to give you a perspective of how attackers see your environment from the outside. So we leverage the findings from Defender CSPM to populate the attack path. So when you see, hey, this machine is exposed, we know that information because we are integrating the backend with Defender ESM, and there is no extra license for this integration. It's part of the plan.
Nice. Well, I love this because it helps blue teams, it helps security operations individuals be more proactive, right? I think we live in a pretty reactive world. I think we need to leverage the signals intelligence that we have and this correlation ability to make people aware of what the priority is. I mean, you nailed it with your example, Yuri. I've got 80 high severities. Help me pick one, right? And I think there's so many organizations out there that just look at that and like their heads explode. To be able to map that to risk and then be able to map that to organizational and business risk gives teams and leaders maybe the financial incentive to actually invest in making these things happen, right? Or dedicating personnel to ensure that they're closing
it also helps with the situation and efficiency because they know where to start as well, right? Because just like you said, a lot of organizations, they look at security as like this holistic when really kind of all you really have to focus on is the most critical things first. A lot of times you take care of those critical things and the other things kind of work themselves out. So
that's exactly correct. And that was the challenge prior to this plan. Prior to this plan, customers were just using the secure score as this way of gauging progress on their security posture, right? But the security score was something very hard to achieve 100% because customers came to me many times. I'm on this security score since the day that it was created, and they were like, "What is the best security score? I have 80%. Did I pass?" I said, "Well, this is not an exam. I mean, this is the best security score is 100%. Because if you have 80, it means that 20% is still open and can be exploited." So it was hard for people to achieve that 100% because they have to prioritize something they didn't know what to prioritize. So with the attack path, we fulfill this gap. So that's huge.
Nice.
Um, that's
Well, and the
like,
score consistently changes, right? I mean, like as we add new things, now they're going to fall slowly out of compliance, and so it's a journey, right?
Well,
Not a destination.
I think customers kind of related it to the old Microsoft installation progress bar. Remember that? It'd almost get to the end and it'd start back over. Right?
Yeah.
Secure scores
Wow.
the same thing.
Copying files in Windows 95, like 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. If it completes. Vikas, you had a question for Yuri. Go ahead, sir.
You're muted somehow. We can't hear you.
Might be your headset, sir.
I'll try to read your lips. He's saying, Yuri, how big is your bicep? No, I don't think that's what that was. No.
He was talking just a minute ago. I don't know why.
I know. Well,
It's okay.
Ed went off screen, so I don't know what's going on. There's some kind of weird, I don't know, synergy there. Not
Yeah,
sure.
Edward is also out. That's so odd.
You guys can hear?
Yes, there we go.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened, but so I was actually relating back to Yuri what he was describing, right? The basic sanitization that is needed, right? I was doing an exact same thing within a workshop at customer at India, South India out here, right? And they were running in a Kubernetes workloads very heavily, and they're obviously coming from a finance background, and they did not know there was a crypto mining happening, right? And that was happening at the image level, right? Their existing security tools could not detect it for some reason, right? And the moment we conducted in a workshop, we got to know that these kind of things are actually happening, and we were able to detect it, we were able to remediate it, right? So the multiple characters played a good role in that, right? Image being the one. Second, workload identity is something that I really like. Since my team has actually won a global hackathon recently on Entra permissions management, right? We were asked about these questions, right? So what things are correlated, what things can be integrated. um, uh, Defender for Cloud works very much close with all the workloads that are there. So I would like to understand at some point if there's gonna be like a good integration. So just like you said, ESM, Defender for ESM has been integrated with Defender for Cloud. At some point, workload identity or Entra permissions management, all these things are gonna come together with Defender for Cloud. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So Entra, we already started this journey. We already have some basic integration with Entra, and we are improving that. If you do not, if you do not know, I have a talk show called Defender for Cloud in the Field, and I have an episode that I'm going to put here on the private chat so everyone can, so Andrea or someone can share with everyone. There is an episode just on this Entra integration that we have, which again is very basic right now because it's a journey, right? And we are improving this integration. Even the integration with Defender ESM and Defender TI is something that Defender TI we are not fully integrated yet, just for you to have an idea, right? But Defender ESM we have this initial integration. So there is a journey to actually put all things together. And Defender for Cloud will be this main hub for all this integration for sure.
Absolutely.
So you had also mentioned Yuri before in this kind of same vein here. Vikas is here because of this customer connection program for the private previews and things like that. You mentioned earlier about the DevOps stuff and the API, which I have to say, the number of conferences that I've been to and spoke at over the past 6 months to a year, there's very little from a security perspective for developers. So these are awesome. People love this API DevOps stuff, but also maybe potentially some of this other stuff that might be coming down the pipe. How do people get access to that, or are they able to connect and see what might potentially be coming? Potentially the private preview program, or
Yeah, the private preview program is the best place to be when it comes to roadmap and feature evolvement of the product, because you have the opportunity to really see in firsthand what are the new innovations, and actually actively participate and give your opinion about features and everything. So yes, because when it comes to roadmap, we really don't disclose this to the entire public. Whoever joins the program will
Right.
see that is an NDA type of program where we validate hypotheses. We have exercises to validate hypotheses with customers. So it's a very dynamic place to be, and where you're going to get more information about roadmap.
yeah.
Now, one
Well,
thing is important. If you don't know, on our documentation, we do have a place called What's News, which is the release notes. And we did something that a lot of people were asking for a long time. I'm going to put the link here. So the release notes, one of the feedback that we received in the past was, the release note is cool, but I have to come to this page all the time. Can you put this on our RSS feed? Well, guess what? We finally have an RSS feed
What?
for the
When did
release
you do
notes.
that?
Nice.
When did you do that? Where is that?
We did
Oh
it
my
this
God.
week exclusively for this program.
Oh, there it is.
Wow.
Oh,
You heard here first.
that's
Wow, that's
awesome.
amazing.
All right, we should have had a drum roll or something, because you know what? People have been asking. I've had to do some weird things just to get.
Exactly.
I
I
created
know. I remember
created a
you talk-
workbook with a
I remember
playbook
you
and
told me
Sentinel.
that.
Yeah,
So I was
awesome.
holding the surprise for you, Rod.
Thank you,
That's so
Yuri.
cool.
Where's the button? I'm missing it here, Rod.
Well,
Where
there
is
is
it?
not a
a
button, it's in
tip
the middle of
in
the page.
green.
Oh yeah, look at that. Is that for is that across the board, Yuri, or is that just
No,
for
this
Defender?
just for this Windows, for this page.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
no,
Yeah, that's amazing.
No, this is Mark. Yeah, this is no. This is
MDC.
special. This is super special. I love that.
Yeah, so
That's
keep
cool.
your eye on this page, because we are, as you can see, there is a lot of things that are released. Just this month, today is June 7th, we already released 4 updates, and 4 big ones. June 4, we release the agentless discovery capability in Defender for CSPM. In other words, now you don't need to have an agent installed on your container to be discovered. So now we are agentless in containers for the discover capability, and people don't realize that, but this is part of the Defender CSPM. And the other thing is, I already have an episode dedicated to that on Defender for Cloud in the Field, because I recorded this with the feature PM that owns this feature. So if you want to know more about agentless container capability, here's the episode with Shani. That is the feature PM for this capability.
That's really cool. Thanks, Yuri.
That in
Yuri,
here.
like, hey, just building on that, how long have you been hosting your podcast? And can you just, as fellow podcast hosts, like, can you just share, why you every week, I believe it's weekly, like how much you enjoy podcasting, how much you enjoy teaching the community? I mean, I think it would just be nice to get your perspective on giving back, and why you feel like it's so valuable to get your message out.
Well, this is we have to really be aware of opportunities, right? So when COVID hit in 2020, I was invited at that time to be a guest in the Azure Fridays podcast. You probably heard about Azure Fridays, right?
Yes.
So I was invited for that show, and I was like, "This is cool, but we should have one just for Azure Security Center. Why we don't have one just for Azure Security Center?" So I was like, "Okay, what it takes to create that?" So I got tips from the folks from that podcast about OBS and how to record and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do one for Azure Security Center. So I released one for Azure Security Center in 2020, and people start loving it. I mean, the PMs start loving the idea because it's a direct channel with developers, feature PMs. Initially, it was only feature PMs, but then developers were like, "Well, I want to participate too. I want to talk about my feature." So I started having developers, and then security researchers said, "Wow, I just released this threat matrix. I'd like to talk about that." I was like, "Let's do it." So it started to really evolving, and now the entire team, because most of the people that I interviewed, they are in Israel. All the researchers, developers, they are all in Israel. I even recorded one live from Israel when I went there last year. It was pretty cool. So
Cool.
I really love it. I love so much that I have my personal podcast because I have a lot of time in my hands. So I have
Whatever.
I have a podcast called Overcome.
Yeah, I've heard that one. That was super excellent. You should put the link in there too. We need that one.
Yeah.
All kinds
So
of
the
links today.
Overcome podcast it was born in 2020, October 2020, when I fractured my foot in a jiu-jitsu competition, and I really got depressed because I was unable to do anything. 3 months unable to walk. I was bored, and I wanted to have a better way to cope that. So I said, well, I'm going to start interviewing athletes. So I started interviewing Olympic athletes. I talked with Olympic athletes from the US, from Germany, and I started inviting these people without even knowing them. I just went to their Instagram page and I said, hey, I have a podcast. I'd like to interview you. And they're like, oh, let's do it. So it was super fun because it allowed me to meet a lot of professional athletes, and they all have a good story to share. I really like the athlete mindset. I think that if we use more of that in business, we will succeed a lot. The best books that I ever read were by Coach Tim Groover, for example. He wrote Relentless, and he was Michael Jordan's personal trainer.
Yeah,
excellent book. There is another book also from Michael Phelps' coach, which is a great book as well. So there's a lot of lessons learned from coaches, from resiliency that we can utilize in business. And so the Overcome podcast is still going strong for the third year now. And it's fun. And this one I usually record on Saturdays, or sometimes I get someone in Europe, so I wake up a little early, like 4 a.m., and I do it. So it's all good. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I've always considered when interviewing someone, because I run all the time. If they're a runner, I know what it takes and the dedication behind that. I know that person's going to be a good employee, right? So if you kind of have that athlete mentality, I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably going to be the best person for this role. So.
And now we know what to say when we're interviewing for Rod.
Yeah, Andrea's on mute. That's because
I disagree completely,
run.
but it's fine.
Andrea is mad at me. She doesn't follow me on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, you're just
Not that I'm
you're
mad at you.
demotivizing.
I love you, Yuri.
You're demotivizing Yuri for some reason. I don't know. Yeah.
But I just want to congratulate you all for this format. I really enjoy. I was here in the audience when Lara was in the show. I think it's super cool that you all interact and bring a different perspective. And this idea of bringing external guests for winning the black belt is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's been awesome. We've worked pretty closely with the old private preview program and the MVPs and stuff. And so I think this is a great way to highlight the folks who help build better products, right? These folks in the private preview program, they're just MVPs themselves, because most of what you see in our products, these people dedicate their time to testing and helping improve this. What you see in the product today is because of their efforts. A lot of it is because of it.
Shout out to Katrina Quick Friend of the
Yeah,
show.
Christina is great. Absolutely, I work with Christina a lot. She helped me to create the black belt for Defender for Cloud. There is a black belt for
Yeah.
Defender for Cloud. You have to complete the ninja training that we have.
Oh yeah.
You don't have that yet, Rod?
So here's the thing. We can talk about it later. It's a work thing. So
Okay.
all right.
We'll talk about that. There is one comment here from Trevor Smith. Yuri sounds like Arnold. I would like him to say, I pick up this and I put it down. I pick up this and I put it down.
By the way, Schwarzenegger has a new documentary on Netflix.
I
that came out
started
today.
watching today during my cardio.
I
It was
love it.
awesome.
Yeah, I
It's
just love it.
super cool.
Documentary or show? Because I'm watching
No,
this
it's
show.
not a show. It's a
Oh, the
comedy.
No, it's a
Bar thing?
documentary. It's multiple episodes. It's really good.
He actually has a show that's not bad. Fubar.
Fubar, yeah.
It's called Fubar. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah. He's better at documentaries than acting, I think, but that's just me.
Yeah, there is a lot of things that he was
Rod and I
talking
are
today on this
Have a
first.
throwdown later.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Yuri, what was that?
No, the first episode was about how he left Austria to come to US, and a lot of things that he said I kind of understand, because growing up in Brazil, in my hometown, it's called Fortaleza, it's northeast of Brazil. I always wanted to move to US, and when I moved in 2003, I actually and this is something that not a lot of people know, but my inspiration to leave was when I was probably 11, 12 years old, and I watched Rocky Balboa running the stairs and being the underdog, fighting with Apollo. I was like, this is awesome. That's the land of the opportunity. I want to move there. So it was Rocky that motivated me to move. So when I moved to US in 2003, I had that feeling that he said on episode 1. Now I'm home. He said exactly that when he arrived to US, and it's something that was in my mind for a long time as well. So I can understand the feeling.
So I just had a funny thought. Yuri, all my thoughts are funny. You know this. Yuri, you should solicit Arnold to have him on the Overcome podcast, and then we have to determine who's speaking at which moment.
That's great.
You don't even tell who's speaking. You just go. It's like a personal
It's
conversation.
fun because he has that thick German accent, and I remember when I was in CSS, a lot of customers on the call, because we were getting escalations and everything, and all customers that I talk, they thought that I was Russia. I was a Russian guy because of the accent and my first name. My first name is Russian.
Right.
My last name is Greek, but I'm from Brazil. So it's a pretty mess.
Citizen of the earth.
So did your parents have a hat full of names when they tried to name you?
That's another interesting story, because Yuri is a Russian name. And the reason my father gave me this name is because at that time, Brazil was heavily influenced by Cuba because of the Soviet Union. So he was like a communist, and he was like, your name will be Yuri, right? Because of Yuri Gagarin, the first astronaut, Russian astronaut. So that's why he gave me this name. And it's funny because when I moved to US in 2003, his whole idea of socialism and communism already collapsed, and he was super happy that I did that. So it was good to see the transition of the passionate communists to wake up to the utopia and say, hey, you go.
That's really interesting. Very cool. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing your life story there with us. Hey, we're wrapping up here in time wise. I don't want to keep anybody from another call or anything, but you're we've talked about CSPM. We've talked about the latest additions to Defender for Cloud, release notes. We've linked some of your podcasts. Are there any other resources you want folks to be aware of? Things they should be checking
There's
out?
one more resource, and I'm glad you asked this. I'm going to put the link here on the private chat so y'all can share, which is our labs. One of the things that a lot of people ask is, how can I try out all these plans in a guided lab? So my team put together this lab that has 18 modules, And the good thing about this lab is that you can do it with a free trial. So if you don't have an Azure subscription, get a free trial Azure subscription and organize 28 days. Don't wait until 30th, right? So you don't you're not charged after 30 days. But so organize your calendar in 28 days to do all these labs for free. So that's the cool thing about the lab. You can do everything for free.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I know that Defender for Cloud and Azure Security Center and whatever, those are your babies. So for our listeners, can you tell them how, besides Defender for Cloud, how did, Microsoft Cloud App Security and Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps became your second favorite product?
It's fishing.
Good try.
I'm guiding the witness, but on a separate question, Yuri, in the M365 workloads, are you a fan of any one of those in particular? Because they all work together in this whole threat landscape.
Yeah, I'm a bit. I used to work with. So at Ignite 2016. I was releasing this book, this green book here, the Bring Your Own Device. And at that time, we were releasing ATA. Who remembers ATA here?
Yeah.
Exactly. So ATA became Azure ATP. Azure ATP became
Defender for Identity.
Defender for Identity. So yeah, from that family, Defender for Identity is something that I saw growing up because there was an acquisition that became ATA and then Azure ATP. So my team used to handle that product. Then we have a reorg, and then Gershon went, which is the PM for Defender for Identity, went to that team. So I like that product a lot because if you still have on-prem AD, that's the product that you need to identify the threats from the directory service perspective. So Defender for Identity is something that is very dearly to my heart, for sure. The other one, of course, is Defender for Endpoints, right? Because we have Defender for Endpoint as part of Defender for Servers.
Right. Exactly. Defender for Endpoint, Edward. Yeah. See how he mentioned everyone.
And you don't need to install Arc now. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's another great news.
The answer, as far as Edward is concerned, is MCAS. So Defender for Cloud Apps.
Well, now that you say that, I think I know how I haven't been here nearly as long as you, but now I know how I met you because I think it was Nicholas Nicola, because at that time and I was really focused in on ATA and had worked on it for a good while, and then I got picked up and started playing around with MCAS and stuff on the partner side. But yeah, I now remember how I met you. It was through Nicholas.
Yeah, Nicholas and we met in 2016 at Ignite, and I was actually just finished the book that covers ATA, and he was there. So in 2017, he invited me to join his team to take care of Azure Security Center. So that very small word for sure.
And so if you were at Ignite in 2016, you were in Atlanta? I think it was in Atlanta.
Yeah, 16. 15 was in Chicago, which was the first version of Ignite. I was there. And then starting in 16 was already in Florida, I think, Orlando.
Yeah. We had one here in Atlanta.
Maybe it was 16, and because 17 was in Orlando.
Yeah, I think that's might would have been it was. Yeah. Well, good product. MDI is solid. Now it's a blurred line between where MDI ends and where Azure Active Directory Identity Protection starts, and they're
interesting.
Yeah, intra.
Defender. It needs its own Defender name. I don't know.
So I got an idea of your role, your responsibilities, you were, and I know we toward the end of the show, but you're way beyond a feature PM. You're a principal program manager, so all the defenders fall up under you.
So the way that the organization works is we own different plans. So my team owns Defender CSPM, Defender for DevOps, Defender for API, and multi-cloud. So that's what my team owns, and my PMs they are specialized on those areas.
Okay, that makes sense. I just need to find to connect the dots. I'm like, does all of it come up under you? But it seems
No,
like it's,
yeah, it's a lot for one person to own. It's very well segmented, not only on the customer engineering perspective, but also in Israel. They have different managers and teams for the different plans.
So when is Defender for Artificial Intelligence coming out? It's a new shiny.
Soon.
It's soon. It's the new shiny, right?
It comes out
Wait.
with E9.
Yeah, it comes with E9. Yeah, you got about
Yeah.
E9. There you go. I don't have any. It's like I said, this is probably the closest you and I have talked one-on-one and everything. I really appreciate it. I'm a fan of afar, so I am liking what I'm seeing out there. Now I know the man that's in there. I can pick up the phone and call him. Say, hey, I know
Yes,
somebody.
you always can. We are one ping away from teams, so
One ping away.
Don't abuse that, Edward.
Yeah, he'll never
Yeah.
come on again. That Edward, leave me alone.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yuri.
I'm getting a bad rep here.
No.
No.
Hey, Vikas, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope it was a good time for you. I think you were
Absolutely.
interested in meeting Yuri as well. So
Yep.
I mean, with
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
with all these international co-hosts that we're getting, we may have to run the show in 2 different time zones. Have multiple.
we might. Yeah.
There you go.
And congratulations.
No,
by the
no,
way.
Thank you so much. Absolutely, I've watched him. I've taken a reference of his broadcast, right? So many a times it solves my problems as well. So thank you so much. And yes,
You're
obviously,
welcome. Yeah, go ahead. You're welcome. I get it.
all of you,
Well,
all of
we're
you.
going to
not-
have Edward on next week as our guest.
Yeah, the day was a bad day for Edward. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had to drop off the show. I'm sorry, you.
So we did have, I think, as we're wrapping up, we did have one request. Where did that go? It's way up here. Someone actually said we need to end the show with "Hasta la vista, baby." Where did that go?
Yuri gets to end the show. Go ahead. Make sure you record.
all right.
All right.
So first of all, thank you all for the invitation, Rod, Brody, Andrea, Edward. Thank you very much for hosting this and for evangelize the community. Vikas, congratulations for your black belt, and hasta la vista, baby.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.